You're home, minding your own business, when suddenly there's a knock at the door. You look through the peephole and see police officers standing on your porch. Your heart starts racing. What do you do? Do you have to open the door? Can they just stay there forever? And what happens if they refuse to leave? Most people have no idea what their rights are in this situation, and that lack of knowledge can lead to serious problems. Today, I'm going to walk you through exactly what you need to know to protect yourself when police show up at your door and won't leave. This isn't about being anti-police. This is about knowing your constitutional rights so you can interact with law enforcement in a way that protects both you and them. Let's start with the fundamental question. Do you have to open your door when police knock? The short answer is no. You are under no legal obligation to open your door just because police are knocking. Your home is your castle, and the Fourth Amendment to the United States Constitution protects you against unreasonable searches and seizures. This means that police generally cannot enter your home without either your consent, a valid warrant, or what's called exigent circumstances, which we'll talk about in a minute. But here's where it gets tricky. Just because you don't have to open the door doesn't mean the police have to leave. And this is where most people get confused and make mistakes that can cost them dearly. So let's talk about what police can and cannot do when they're standing on your porch. First, understand that your porch, your driveway, and the pathway leading to your front door are generally considered part of what's called the curtilage of your home. Courts have recognized that this area deserves some Fourth Amendment protection, but not as much as the inside of your home. Police can approach your door just like any other member of the public could. A mail carrier can walk up to your door, a neighbor can walk up to your door. So can police. This is called the knock and talk doctrine. Police are allowed to approach your home, knock on your door, and attempt to speak with you, just like anyone else could. They don't need a warrant to do this. They don't need probable cause. They don't even need reasonable suspicion. They can just show up and knock. But here's the critical part. Once you make it clear that you want them to leave, the rules change. In a landmark case called Florida versus Jardines, the Supreme Court made it clear that police have an implied license to approach your home and knock on your door. But that license is limited. It's limited to the same purposes for which any private citizen would be allowed to approach your door. Once you revoke that implied consent by telling them to leave, they're supposed to go. So here's what you need to do if police show up at your door and you don't want to talk to them. Step 1. Do not open the door. I cannot stress this enough. The moment you open that door, you've made their job easier. They can now see inside your home. They can smell what's in your home. They can hear what's in your home. You've given them potential probable cause for a search, and you've put yourself in a position where they might claim you consented to them entering. Talk to them through the door, or better yet, through a window, or Ring camera if you have one. Keep that physical barrier between you and them at all times. Step 2. Ask if they have a warrant. This is crucial. Say clearly, do you have a warrant? If they say yes, ask them to slide it under the door or hold it up to your Ring camera so you can see it. A warrant must be signed by a judge and must specifically describe the place to be searched and the things to be seized. If they have a valid warrant, you generally have to let them in. Refusing to comply with a valid warrant can result in them forcing entry and you potentially being charged with obstruction. But make sure it's actually valid. Check that your address is correct, that it's signed, and that it hasn't expired. If they don't have a warrant, we move to step 3. Step 3. Clearly state that you do not consent to any searches and that you are exercising your right to remain silent. Say something like this. I do not consent to any searches. I am exercising my Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. I do not wish to speak with you. Please leave my property. Be polite but firm. You don't need to be rude. You don't need to escalate the situation. But you need to be crystal clear. Ambiguity is your enemy here. Now, this is the moment where many people encounter the problem we're here to solve. You've told the police to leave, but they're not leaving. They're still standing on your porch. They might be knocking again. They might be calling out to you. They might be peering through your windows. What do you do? First, let's understand why they might not be leaving. Sometimes police will stay on your porch because they're trying to develop probable cause. They're hoping you'll say something incriminating. They're hoping they'll see or smell something that gives them justification to enter. They might be waiting for backup. They might be trying to wear you down so you'll eventually open the door and talk to them. Other times, they genuinely believe they have a legal right to be there. They might believe there are exigent circumstances, which are emergency situations that allow them to enter without a warrant. These include things like hot pursuit of a fleeing suspect, preventing imminent destruction of evidence, preventing imminent harm to people, or responding to an emergency. So, how do you get them to leave? Here's the strategy: continue to speak to them through the door or through your camera system and ask them directly. Are you claiming there are exigent circumstances? If not, I have clearly told you to leave my property. You are now trespassing. I am recording this interaction and I am going to contact an attorney. Notice what you're doing here. You're creating a clear record. You're making them articulate their legal justification for staying. And you're making it clear that you understand your rights and you're willing to enforce them. Now, let me be very clear about something. Do not physically try to remove police from your property. Do not threaten them. Do not brandish a weapon. Do not do anything that could be construed as assaultive or threatening. That will only make your situation worse and it could get you killed. Your weapon here is documentation and the law, not physical force. If you have a Ring camera or any kind of recording device, make sure it's recording. If you're speaking to them through the door, consider recording the audio on your phone. In most states, you have the right to record police officers who are performing their duties, especially when they're on your property. Tell them you're recording. Say, I am recording this interaction for my safety and yours. This recording will be provided to my attorney. This often changes the dynamic. Police know that their actions are being documented, and they know that if they violate your rights, there will be evidence of it. But what if they still won't leave? What if they just keep standing there? This is where patience becomes your friend. As frustrating as it is, sometimes the best strategy is to simply stop engaging. You've made your position clear. You've told them to leave. You've stated you don't consent to searches. You've stated you're exercising your right to remain silent. Now, stop talking to them. Go about your business inside your home. Don't peek out the windows. Don't keep checking on them. Don't engage. Eventually, if they don't have a legal basis to be there, they will leave. If they don't leave after a reasonable amount of time, document how long they stayed and contact an attorney as soon as possible. You may have grounds for a civil rights lawsuit, especially if you can prove that they violated the knock and talk doctrine by remaining on your property after you clearly revoked their implied license to be there. Now let's talk about some common tactics police might use to try to get you to open the door and how to respond to them. Tactic 1, we just want to talk to you. You're not in trouble. We just need to ask you a few questions. Don't fall for this. There is no such thing as just talking with police. Anything you say can and will be used against you. If you're not in trouble, they don't need to talk to you. And if they're at your door, there's a reason. And that reason is not to have a friendly chat. Your response? I have nothing to say. I do not wish to speak with you. Please leave. Tactic 2. If you don't talk to us, we're going to assume you're guilty. Innocent people cooperate. This is psychological manipulation. The truth is that innocent people have been convicted because they talked to police and said something that was misinterpreted or used against them. You have a constitutional right to remain silent, and exercising that right cannot legally be used as evidence of guilt. Your response? I am exercising my constitutional rights. I do not wish to speak with you. Please leave. Tactic 3, we're going to stay here until you talk to us. We can do this all day. This is where they're testing you. They want to see if you'll crack under pressure. Your response: I have clearly asked you to leave my property. You are now trespassing. This interaction is being recorded. I will be contacting my attorney. Then stop engaging. As I said before, patience is your friend. Tactic 4. We know you're in there. We can hear you. If you don't open the door, we're going to assume something is wrong and force entry. This is a threat, and it's usually a bluff. If they had grounds for exigent circumstances, they would have already entered. They're trying to scare you into opening the door. Your response: everyone in this residence is safe and does not wish to speak with you. There is no emergency. You do not have consent to enter. Please leave. Tactic 5. We have a warrant, but we left it in the car. Just open the door and we'll show it to you. Never open the door based on someone's word that they have a warrant. A warrant is a legal document, and if they have one, they can show it to you without you opening the door. Your response? Please slide the warrant under the door or hold it up to the camera so I can examine it. I will not open the door. Now, let's talk about the exception that scares everyone. Exigent circumstances. Exigent circumstances are situations where police can enter your home without a warrant because there's an emergency that doesn't allow time to get one. These situations are rare, and courts interpret them narrowly, but they do exist. The main categories are hot pursuit, imminent destruction of evidence, and emergency aid. Hot pursuit means police are chasing someone who just committed a serious crime and that person ran into your house. In this situation, police can follow them in without a warrant. Imminent destruction of evidence means police have probable cause to believe a crime has been committed, and they reasonably believe that if they don't enter immediately, evidence will be destroyed. The key word here is imminent. They can't claim exigent circumstances just because they think you might eventually destroy evidence. Emergency aid means police reasonably believe someone inside is in imminent danger of serious harm or death. This is sometimes called the community caretaking function. If police are claiming exigent circumstances, here's what you need to know. They need to be able to articulate specific facts that justify the emergency. They can't just have a hunch. They need actual evidence. If they're entering based on claimed exigent circumstances, continue to state clearly, I do not consent to this entry. I believe you are violating my Fourth Amendment rights. This is being recorded. Do not physically resist, but make your objection clear for the record. After the fact, immediately contact an attorney. If they entered without a valid legal basis, any evidence they found might be suppressed, and you may have grounds for a civil rights lawsuit. Let me give you some real-world scenarios to illustrate how this works. Scenario 1. Police knock on your door late at night. They say they received a noise complaint and they need to come in and make sure everything is okay. What do? You step outside and close the door behind you, or you talk through the door. You say, everyone here is fine. There's no emergency. You do not have consent to enter my home. A noise complaint does not give police the right to enter your home without consent. Scenario 2. Police show up and say they're investigating a crime that happened in your neighborhood, and they think you might have witnessed something. What do? You say, I do not wish to speak with you. If you have questions, you can contact my attorney. Then you provide no further information. You might think, but I didn't do anything wrong. Why wouldn't I help them? Because even innocent people can say things that get misinterpreted. Even innocent people can accidentally incriminate themselves or someone they care about. Your job is to protect yourself first. Scenario 3. Police knock and say they need to do a welfare check because someone called and said they were worried about you. What do? You speak through the door and say, I am fine. There is no emergency. Thank you for your concern, but I do not need assistance and I do not consent to you entering my home. Welfare checks are tricky because they can potentially fall under the emergency aid exception, but only if police have reasonable grounds to believe someone is in danger. If you've clearly communicated that everyone is fine, they generally need to leave. Now, one question I get all the time, what if I have roommates or family members who want to talk to police or let them in? This is complicated. Generally, if one occupant consents to police entering a shared space, that consent is valid even if another occupant objects, as long as the objecting occupant isn't present. But if you're both there and you're actively objecting, courts have held that your objection prevails and police cannot enter based on the other person's consent. The best practice is to have a conversation with everyone in your household ahead of time. Make sure everyone understands. If police show up, we do not open the door, we do not consent to searches, and we do not answer questions without an attorney present. Get everyone on the same page. Let's also address what happens if police do enter your home, either with a warrant or claiming exigent circumstances. First, stay calm. Getting angry or physical will only make things worse for you. Second, clearly state for the record, I do not consent to this search. I am exercising my right to remain silent. I want to speak to an attorney. Third, do not interfere with their search, but do observe what they're doing. Try to remember or record which areas they search, what they take, and what they say. Fourth, do not answer any questions beyond basic identification information. They will try to get you to talk, they will try to get you to explain things. They will try to get you to consent to additional searches. Do not engage. Just repeat. I am exercising my right to remain silent. I want to speak to an attorney. Fifth, as soon as they leave, write down everything that happened while it's fresh in your memory. Note the date, time, names, and badge numbers if you got them, what was said, what was taken, and any potential violations of your rights. Then, contact an attorney immediately. Here's something else you need to understand. Police are allowed to lie to you. They can tell you they have evidence they don't have. They can tell you that your friend already confessed. They can tell you that things will go easier for you if you just cooperate. They can make promises they have no intention of keeping. The only way to protect yourself from these tactics is to exercise your right to remain silent and request an attorney. Once you request an attorney, police are supposed to stop questioning you. If they continue, that's a violation of your Fifth Amendment rights. Let me address one more situation that comes up. What if you're on probation or parole? If you're on probation or parole, the rules are different. You likely have conditions that allow law enforcement or probation officers to search your home without a warrant. However, those searches usually need to be conducted by your probation or parole officer, not just any police officer. And there are still limits on when and how they can search. If you're on probation or parole and police show up at your door, you should still follow the same basic principles. Don't open the door, ask if they have a warrant or if they're your assigned probation or parole officer, and document everything. But understand that your rights are more limited than someone who isn't under supervision. So, to wrap this all up, here's your action plan for when police show up at your door and refuse to leave. 1. Do not open the door. 2. Speak through the door or a camera system. 3. Ask if they have a warrant. If yes, ask to see it before opening the door. 4. If they don't have a warrant, clearly state that you do not consent to any searches. You are exercising your right to remain silent, and you want them to leave your property. 5. Ask if they're claiming exigent circumstances. Make them articulate their legal basis for staying. 6. Document everything. Record if possible. 7. If they refuse to leave, stop engaging. Be patient. They will eventually leave if they don't have a legal basis to be there. 8. Contact an attorney as soon as possible, especially if you believe your rights were violated. Remember, this isn't about being difficult or uncooperative. This is about protecting your constitutional rights. Police have a job to do, but that job has limits. Those limits exist to protect all of us from government overreach. You have the right to be secure in your home. You have the right to refuse searches. You have the right to remain silent. These aren't just abstract concepts. They're real protections that you can and should use when necessary. Don't let fear or intimidation tactics cause you to give up these rights. Stay calm, stay informed, and know that the law is on your side when you're in your own home and you haven't done anything wrong. If you found this information helpful, make sure you share it with your friends and family. Everyone needs to know their rights, because you never know when you might need to exercise them. Stay safe, stay informed, and remember, your home is your castle. Protect it.